Everybody's going to ask first, C.J. not throwing again. There's no concerns with C.J. It's just general shortness. We're taking extra precaution with him, but he'll be good to go. No concerns on my end here. Really excited the way our guys are working.
Hi, this is Aaron Wilson. The Texans held another organized team activity practice today that was open to the media. And just like last week, Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud, the former NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, was limited to handing off the football and wasn't throwing. As I reported last week, it's due to his shoulder. He is experiencing tightness in the shoulder muscles that support the whole shoulder operation, and it moves a little bit with the part of the pectoral was affected at one point, but it's primarily his shoulder, and that's why he's not practicing. And today, DeMeco Ryans addressed that and was a little more expansive, and he says there are, again, no concerns. It's just general soreness. He is telling the truth. There is no reason to be worried about it because it's not a long-term injury. They're taking, as he said, extra precautions with him. He says he'll be good to go. He has no concerns. He was non-committal on whether he'll throw at the minicamp. My understanding is that he could be resumed throwing as soon as this week. No one guaranteed that he would throw this week, so they make a judgment call. Do I think he could throw? Yes, he's able to shoot three-pointers, as you saw at that event he attended over the weekend. And I did see him do a little bit of I wouldn't call this throwing, short toss, where he's throwing it, here's my football, throwing it to teammates, a little bit of, short distance throwing. I think he's capable of throwing the football. It's just a matter of what's to be gained by it. So there is no real controversy. And for those that would ask, well, why didn't they want to do that last week? Their policy in the offseason is to not do injury updates. They do some injury updates, but they're not going to be very expansive even in season. They have an injury report. That's what's required by the NFL rules. And so the Texans, they're not quite like Bill Belichick. I would say they don't lie. They're not evasive. They just don't answer the question. DeMeco Ryans, he was definitive about Christian Harris in a different, injury that he says he'll be ready by training camp. So with CJ, he's giving you some information. You just have to read between the lines or do some reporting. That's my job, is to do reporting. So I had 4 different people I trust tell me it's not a big deal. And they all said similar or almost exactly the same thing regarding the shoulder. So his right throwing shoulder is what's affected, and he has some tightness in the muscles. And this is not, I know a lot of people, they've gone back in time. They're looking at, well, he has a history of shoulder issues. All of that is true, but it's not the AC joint. It's not things he's damaged in the past. It is muscle tightness. So that's entirely different from structural damage or something that you'd have to repair. No, he did not have surgery this offseason, to answer a common question I've been posed and that DeMeco Ryans did not want to answer today. But he wasn't being evasive in the sense of that I'm, hiding something. What he's doing is he's saying that's all the questions I'm taking. So if you watch the answer, you'll see how he felt about it. He felt like, he had probably answered everything he wanted to answer. Why be forthcoming with it now? Well, I would say because the information is already out there and there's intense interest in this from the fan base and from the press corps. So with the beats asking all these questions and it's becoming a preoccupation, you're better off just acknowledging it. Would have been even better to just be proactive and say something, but that is not something he has to do. Is there any competitive advantage? Not in my opinion, because you don't play a game for a long time, but this is just sort of their fallback, the stance that they have. And this starts at the top. So you have Nick Caserio, you have DeMeco Ryans, and those are the guys that make those decisions. This isn't the McNairs, not necessarily the public relations group. It's just a matter of what he's choosing to do. And so every press conference, every coach, they can handle things differently, and this is his choice of how he wants to handle it. when it comes to a press conference situation. So whether you agree with it, don't agree with it, is not, this isn't like a debate type of forum. They're going to do what they want to do. So I'm saying that not as a criticism. I'm explaining it, what is going on. I'm not apologizing for it. I'm not making excuses. I'm always in favor of more information and more transparency, but I also understand the reality of you're covering the National Football League, and they don't have to tell you everything, and that's part of the challenge as a reporter, is to get more information. There's lots of information I have that I would never report because I'm not writing a gossip column. There's things I'm very interested in when it comes to injuries, the lineup, the contracts, the competitions, things like that, hirings, firings, all that sort of stuff. I tend to just lean into those sort of newsy items more so than whether this person likes this person, all that sort of stuff. It's just whatever. Again, I have choices as a reporter. What am I interested in? But when there's a lot of interest in something, yeah, I think I should delve into it. I should figure it out and get my hands around it and just see what's going on there. Well, let's move on to a couple of things. I am not worried about C.J. Stroud. Whether he does the mini camp, it's unfortunate if he can't do anything and they choose not to have him do anything in the spring because progress could be made in terms of timing and chemistry. But I know they'll catch up over the summer. Knowing C.J., he'll schedule extra practice, extra throwing sessions, I should say, independent. They've had this before at the University of Houston. They've done this in Los Angeles at UCLA. They've done this at the University of Miami. CJ is a very hard worker, very conscientious, and there's been a lot of throwing sessions already with the guys. So he'll get it done. I'm not worried about CJ. So what did happen at practice, we'll go through some other situations here with the team. So I've got some notes here. I'm going to refresh my memory. On a more positive note, Dalton Schultz was out there and he looked good. We don't know why he didn't practice, but he's back to practice. He caught a touchdown pass. He had worked on a side field last week with trainers, and he moved very well. Christian Kirk missed one practice, and it wasn't anything major. He practiced today, really excelled at creating space and presenting a good target for Davis Mills and Keaton Slovis. So routes are just absolutely textbook. And talking with him afterward, as he acknowledged, it's about durability and him staying on the field. Loves being back in the area after playing collegiately at Texas A&M, and I think he's just be a really important part as that elder statesman. Not really elder, but he's the older wide receiver that they have, like a Robert Woods was. And then Justin Watson is back to practicing. He had been working inside with trainers, and so he's back out there. He looked good to me too. He's a sharp route runner, taller, stronger guy. Jalen Noel didn't seem to be serious because he was running full speed on the side with trainers, but he did not practice today, so he worked on the side. Braxton Berrios, the wide receiver and kick returner, and Graham Mertz, they continue to work on the side with trainers. Both tore their ACLs last season. This isn't unexpected that they would not be ready in the spring. Both are expected to be ready for training camp. Cornerback. D'Amico Ryan said that they will add a corner with the retirement of Ronald Darby. I'm told that was completely unexpected per a source that he would retire. So that shocked a lot of people that Darby decided to hang up his cleats. But, that's his choice. It's a very personal choice whenever a player chooses to retire. And he had a good career. And now Ronald Darby is moving on. So this means more for Jalen Smith, D'Angelo Ross, and I could see them adding a corner. It's an interesting corner right in town with the Roughnecks, Damon Arnett, who I profiled recently. Who knows? Maybe they would look at him. Not reporting that they are, but maybe that might be somebody that would be of interest. I don't think they're going to get involved with Rasul Douglas because look at the price they paid for Darby, 1 year, $2.5 million. And Douglas has already been offered. As I was saying on Rasul Douglas, the Miami Dolphins have already offered Rasul more than what the Texans were paying Ronald Darby, which is 1 year, $2.5 million. There is some salary cap relief for them having to move on from Darby at his choice. So it's interesting. Offensive line. You guys always want to know about the offensive line, as do I. So the first team offensive line was Cam Robinson, left tackle. Left guard, Laken Tomlinson. Jake Andrews, the center. Right guard, Titus Howard. Right tackle, Blake Fisher. Fisher had trouble again with Will Anderson Jr. is absolutely dominant. And then they moved in Ariante Ursery, sub for Robinson. Jared Patterson was the primary backup center. Ed Ingram worked with the second-team offense behind Titus Howard at right guard. So starting to see some patterns with who gets to play with the first offense and the second offense. Another touchdown pass thrown to Jaden Higgins. Jared Wayne caught a touchdown pass. And obviously, Jared is the former undrafted free agent from Pitt that had that unfortunate accidental collision with Tank Dell, and Tank tore up his knee. Here's some guys that did not practice. Joe Mixon, who has been in a walking boot at times this spring, which is, don't know exactly if it's foot or ankle. Backup running back Damian Pierce. So a lot of Jahar Jordan, J.J. Taylor, Woody Marks, British Brooks, all in the backfield. Mixon is expected to be ready by training camp. And other guys that didn't practice, obviously, as we mentioned, Braxton Berrios, Jalen Knoll, Brevin Jordan, who tore his ACL last year, linebacker Christian Harris, and D'Amico Ryans. Everyone wants to know this. D'Amico says that Christian will be ready for training camp. So Matt Burke said it, and D'Amico said it. He has had a history of calf and ankle injuries that have sidelined him. He's working very hard to get back on the field, but right now, not healthy enough. And then Henry Toto, again, minor injury, not practicing as well. Veterans that are not attending this voluntary workout include C.J. Gardner-Johnson, the safety, and the defensive lineman Sheldon Rankins, Derek Barnett, Dina Autry, Foley Fadakasi. And so interesting to see what's going on there. And then, a few other things I want to update you on. In our conversation with Christian Kirk, also, who called the offense dynamic under Nick Caley, noted lots of the motions, the pre-snap adjustments, and a lot of this is right out of the Sean McVay playbook. So good to see that. They were a team I thought that didn't motion enough under Bobby Slowick. They're going to do more of that. And it was a high percentage higher than the Texans. So they like to start with players in motion. I think it does keep the defense off balance. So that's good. Enjoyed the matchups between Nico Collins and Derek Stingley Jr. Always appointment viewing. Those guys are two of the best in the NFL, what they do. And I thought that it was, just pretty interesting to watch. And you look at, some of the other guys that are having some success. Good reports on Tim Settle Jr. One thing that D'Amico said about Tim that was interesting was that he had to get his weight under control last year. And once he did, he had more energy. And now they're getting him to a point where they want him to be more explosive with his hands and with the hand punch he has to get into the backfield, to manhandle the blockers. And he is big and strong and a good football player. So an interesting player, to say the least. And a couple other just small observations. I thought Kaimi Fairburn had a great day kicking the football. He made a 57-yarder a couple of times. So he was consistent, and he had the distance. He's got such a strong leg. So good to see that from Kaimi Fairburn, who had a rough playoff game, as you guys know. And then just a couple other notes. They're happy with Ariante Ursery. D'Amico Ryans really likes the way he is, quote, dialed in and getting better on protections, and he's worked more inside out, taking the coaching point, putting it into action. So they're seeing progress and coachability from the big rookie from Minnesota, former Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year. So that's good to see. And you look at Blake Fisher. They think Blake Fisher's doing a good job of working on his pad level, playing a little bit lower, and having good knee bend. So they're seeing some progress in those areas, and that's good. He is continuing to challenge guys. He likes what the second-year players like Kalen Bullock and Kamar Lass are doing as far as setting examples and having the mindset to be great. That's what you want to hear about from guys like that. You guys saw my conversation with Jaylen Pitre at his youth football camp, outstanding camp, and just great with the community, with the kids. And so for Jaylen, he had some discussion about playing nickel and having, knowing even more about that position. I think he could play even better in year two. Mentally, he says, he's just in a wonderful spot. That was his words. He saw things from a different lens, his terminology, from watching. So he thinks he benefited from that. And, of course, he did get married, as he announced on Saturday. And really fun story, just heartwarming. So his wife, they met in kindergarten, and then they didn't begin dating until their junior year of high school. First date was at IHOP in the Stafford area. They went to Stafford High School together. And then he proposed last fall at IHOP. They very quietly got married 2 months ago, and they had a small group of family and close friends, and they didn't post on social media, and that's very much who Jaylen is. Jaylen is just a really private person, but when I asked him about his girlfriend and his parents being there, he said, my wife. And he corrected me, and he announced it that way, that he is now a married man. And so, yeah, congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Pitre. So that was cool to see. And, just wish him all the best. Great guy. Just really fun to cover someone like that. Outstanding person. We talked a little bit. You probably saw my article about the tackling and how he generates so much torque and force and tackles legally, does it the right way, and is able to finish plays. And just a real commendable, hard-hitting nickel. Not the biggest guy in the world, but a lot of pop. And so that's it for OTA coverage this week. Next week is the full team mandatory minicamp. I have a big interview that I'll be releasing with C.J. Gardner-Johnson along with an article. So look for that this week. Fell a little bit behind on my writing schedule, but I'm looking forward to, I want everybody to read the context and to also hear from him directly in our sit-down interview that I recently conducted. So guys, please tune in for that. Thank you guys for watching, liking, and subscribing to the channel. We are a fast-growing channel, and I'm giving you guys the best I got as far as what we're doing. I look forward to doing even more as we head into the season and the summer months. We'll continue to have coverage and to give you the best coverage I can. I'm on Twitter and X at @AaronWilson_NFL. I'm on Instagram at AaronWilson7128. I'm on television at KPRC2 with Randy McElroy and Ari Alexander. And just really appreciate all those people at KPRC. Great people to work with. And at www.click2houston, our digital arm. And, of course, that is absolutely free. So please check us out and watch me there. All the coverage that we have on click2houston.com. Until next time, guys. Thank you.